Well, welcome to a podcast. Oh, by the way, I'm Doug Wheeler, and I'm the host of a new podcast, Community Building Yamhill Podcast, is what we named it. Let me tell you a little bit about Community Building Yamhill, and then I will introduce our guest today. Community Building Yamhill is a new effort to strengthen how nonprofits and community partners work together across Yamhill County to better support the community's well-being. It's interesting. I sent an email to an individual not too long ago who's in the nonprofit world. I'm relatively new to McMinnville. There'll come a day when I won't be able to say that any longer, because then I can always appeal to somebody else and say, why don't you talk about this or that? But one day I'll have to say, I've been here for a while. But this person said, hey, I've been working in the community for a long time, and there's a great rapport and collaboration between nonprofits that are serving folks, be it on the streets or feeding folks or housing issues, whatever it be, mental health issues. And then she and I had a conversation, and I said, oh, I in no way am implying that the system is broken in any way. She said, by the way, I've been in other communities, and this is the strongest I've ever experienced. And I said, that's fabulous. But I assume anything that's good or anything that's great can always get a little better. Even if we draw attention to how well things are going, that can be a boost in people's work that they're doing, because we know this kind of work, and we're going to learn about this today from our guest. This can be taxing work, and can be fatiguing work, especially in this day and age. It's all going on, all the things that are going on politically, and also just with sometimes a shortage of volunteers and a shortage of funding. So it's time for me to introduce our guest today. We have Jessica Callahan, who is the operations manager. And by the way, if I get any of this wrong, Jessica, correct me. She is the operations manager of the soup kitchen at St. Barnabas Episcopal Church here in McMinnville, Oregon. So welcome to Community Building Yamhill podcast.
Thanks for having me on here, Doug. It's really
Absolutely.
exciting. I'm joining you from our kitchen storage and electrical room, hoping to get some better sound than refrigeration and other kitchen noises.
I like it.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, this is when you and I were chatting about this. This is the here and now, so that's great. And you and I, the cool thing about McMinnville is everything is so close together. I mean, you and I are about a mile apart, and of course, when I came from Seattle,
Yeah.
everything sometimes was many miles apart. So that's cool. Jessica, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I recently met you at a table of other folks that are feeding people that are living on the streets and people that are just challenged in McMinnville. And you and I made a connection, and I appealed to the table to say, hey, who wants to be a guest on this new podcast? And if I remember correctly, you raised your hand like, hey, I'll do it. I'm like, that's cool. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to learn about you as well. So I'm really interested in your story and then how you ended up at St. Barnabas.
All right. Well, so I have also been in McMinnville not all that long. We moved here about 3 years ago. And I immediately started looking for volunteer work related to the food world and feeding people. It's been a long time passion of mine. In every community I've ever been in, I've tried to get my hands in the work. And St. Barnabas Soup Kitchen was one of the first feeding ministries that I heard about. And as I looked around the community, I realized, wow, there's a lot of love and care and feeding going on here. I am so glad I chose this place. So how did I get involved in all this food business? That is its own journey. So I've been a private chef for about 15 years, maybe. and really have enjoyed that work. I've worked in restaurants before also, and worked here in the wineries. And I uh, worked a lot for families who were struggling to feed themselves, not financially, but because they had difficult diets and things like that that were hard to manage and they needed a lot of support. So I kind of started looking at food from all the edges and all the angles and all the ways that food is hard for people. Um, and so, that's kind of most directly how I got to this point. Prior to that, I was a social worker and a
Oh,
doula.
right
So
on.
those two careers feed well into running a soup kitchen now.
That's really interesting. Um, is this a new venture in regards to working with a soup kitchen? You spoke of these other places where you prepared and made food. Is this kind of a new twist of this journey of preparing and serving food to folks?
Yeah, in a way it is. Of course, I've done like large event catering, so I have that capacity. And of course, being self-employed for, well, 20 something years now, um, that I think also helps just when it comes to managing cost and things like that, kind of having ran all
Mhm.
the angles of my own business. Um, I feel like that helped me kind of take on this big project, which is a soup kitchen that feeds 5 days a week. So, um,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was 5 days a week. For some reason, I just had one night or two nights in mind.
Oh, right. No, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Right on.
Yeah, yeah.
Does this feel like a good time to just go right into the work? It's like, tell us about St. Barnabas,
Yeah, I mean, I would love
tell
to
us about
talk
the
about
community,
our.
tell us about the soup kitchen, tell us about volunteers, tell us about challenged finances, tell us about how you locate food. What do you do with food after you're done? Does it all get served? I mean, all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, I can tell a little bit about the St. Barnabas Soup Kitchen. It began in 1989 because some church members noticed that it would sure be helpful to people in the community and some church members if there were some shared meal times. And it just began with that little, twinkle in their eye in the church basement. And from there, they, I think they met once or twice a month, then became weekly, then a couple days a week. It became really expanded into the community as a whole, all of McMinnville. And about 10 years ago, I believe, they decided to go to 5 days a week of dinner service
Wow.
because they found they were really, the need was there.
Hmm.
And the gain was great for the community. So the St. Barnabas decided to make the soup kitchen their Jubilee mission, which that means that kind of the focus of the church,
Wow. Wow.
of their projects and of their kind of their work out in the world is going to be via the soup kitchen. And their mission was to feed the hungry of McMinnville and also to provide the people who live in McMinnville the opportunity to serve others. So it's a really beautiful mission, I believe. It's a togetherness mission, and I think that that's what served it to be so long lasting and to really um, have a lot of support from the community. Yeah. So anyhow, 5 days a week, we come in the morning, start prepping for the day. Volunteers come in different shifts. There's usually a morning shift and an afternoon shift, and we try to get that meal out at 4 o'clock. Our guests come in, and they're well. One of our goals is hospitality. So when our guests come in, they are seated at a table, and our volunteer servers come and take their order. Basically, would you like a salad or not? Kind of dressing, that sort of thing. And they're brought their meals and their seconds or whatever else they might like. We also provide um, milk and water and all those sorts of things for self-serve, but at the table, sort of family style.
Mm.
The idea being that, like, let's not isolate, let's be together for this one special time in our day. It's healthy to eat together as well. So yeah, those things all sort of add up to a really loving experience and a restful experience. That's another one of our goals, is for it to be a
Hmm.
relaxing, predictable time for people. We serve from 4 to 6. So when you come in that
Okay.
time, we hope to have a good vibe, a good
Right.
vibe for you. And we want you to relax and eat well. We serve home cooked food. We serve a vegetable, a protein, all of the square meal, also a
Yeah.
dessert. Um, we allow seconds and thirds, not
Right.
always on everything, but we try to feed people as best as we can and as much as we can. So some days that means we put out 125 plates, of food that night.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty wonderful. Our guests, our averages are increasing right now because of the reduction in SNAP benefits.
Mm. Yes.
So
Yes.
um, that is going to be a challenge for us to face. But I'm currently just very grateful that we are here and that we can help people um, get fed.
So it has a restaurant kind of a vibe to it. Like you sit down and your
Yeah,
order is taken and you wait for
that's
something to
right.
be okay.
That's
Cool.
right. Yeah, but we sit at community tables, so there are tables of 6. And that just sort of, it's also it's for practicality, but also for the idea of being together.
Okay. And what nights a week? Is it weekdays, weekends?
Oh yes, sorry, right, Monday through Friday we
Okay.
serve from 4 to 6.
Okay.
No meal service here on the weekends, although there's another local feeding ministry that cooks in our kitchen on the weekend, and they serve out of another church. We're
Wow.
so fortunate in McMinnville that there are so many groups feeding people, so that
Okay.
there are meals every day in McMinnville. There's a hot meal available.
Oh, wow. So
Yes.
3 meals a day, 7 days a week, if you know where
There
to go.
there are 2 meals a day, 5 days a week, 1 meal a day, 2 days a week. As far as
Okay.
my
As
latest
far as you know.
calculations.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then how many volunteers does it take on average for you to be able to pull this off?
Well, that is a great question. And volunteers are absolutely critical, not only to the mission of the soup kitchen, but to the actual carrying out of our day to day work. Um, I would say for a normal meal that we're doing of our everyday business, we usually use 2 volunteers to prep and 4 to 5 volunteers at dinner service.
Okay.
So, 7 volunteers a day. But we also have many volunteers doing background things like running the Facebook page and
Hmm.
working on fundraising and all the other details that go into running such a big project. We also have volunteers who basically uh, look for financing for us, who look for grants, who look for things like that. All of that kind of background work that keeps the show running, keeps money in the account so that we can keep buying the things we need to buy.
Hmm.
We're very fortunate to have YCAP, which is our local food bank slash housing slash other social service sorts of needs. And we are a food location. Since we're a feeding site for them, they bring food to us to cook. And we get a
Wow.
fair amount of our food through them. So, yeah, we get some produce, we get canned goods, we get all kinds of things, honestly.
Right.
Whatever shows up through their food bank, we get here. So I try to do a lot of our menu planning based on those. foods that we get from them, and to spend our money as carefully as possible.
I would assume one of the characteristics or talents that you must have is that you have to be agile, you have to pivot, and something will fall apart or something, there'll be a shortage of this or that. And I mean, you got to be able to have a plan, and then you got to be able to pivot and massage that plan to make it fit that evening, I assume. So, do you
Oh,
like that
yes.
kind of do you like that kind of variety and that kind of challenge?
Yeah, I would say that is a unique part of the job, is the being able to bounce around and be
Bounce
real
around.
flexible and not knowing necessarily what food you're going to get that week from YCAP and what you're going
Mm,
to make. I 100% stay engaged via the challenge.
okay. Yeah, right
So
on. Right on.
I really
Cool.
enjoy that part of it, and I also think it keeps all of our meals more interesting, and we're not having the same thing on repeat.
Imagine somebody's thinking about the soup kitchen, and they're thinking about, and maybe they're just thinking about one angle or characteristic of it, and that is, okay, people come in, they eat, they leave. But let's round that out with what you know about the power of not only food, but also the power of sharing food together as a community. Can you talk about some of the things that are involved in this that's more than just here's a plate of food? In no way am I in
Right.
any way insinuating that's the mentality, because I know it's not. But what are some of those other
No, that's right.
characteristics about building community? What more is this than just
That's
feeding
right.
people?
Right. I always say we have what we officially do, and then we have what else we do. And
That's
on the
good.
what else we do, as being a consistent place where a lot of our guests can be found. A lot of our guests are houseless people, not everyone. A lot of our guests are still in their homes, but they're in precarious
Okay.
financial situations. And not
Wow.
having to spend their money on food allows them to stay housed. And I am 100% in support of that. We also have DHS come once a month here, and they set up a table and help people get connected with medical services and
Wow.
SNAP
Right
benefits,
on.
things like that, which is wonderful. Some other drug recovery groups meet here. Some agencies occasionally show up and try to help people get connected to their other kind of extraneous services. We also have a resource table where we try to keep all of the current shelter information, all of the helplines, small toiletries, things like that. Um, there's another local ministry that does a clothing closet for us here,
Wow.
and once a week she comes in and restocks that. And I mean, it's a really wonderful all-in-one sort of place, because we meet daily, and we have the same people who tend to come in. It's nice to get to know what people need over time. I mean, they get to charge their phones. We have Wi-Fi. Um, yeah, yeah. It's a really special place.
I'm piecing together in my mind, at least, and if I get any of this off, please give me a better direction. But I'm piecing together that because of your experience and the talent that you have, um, you would be able to be somewhere else than a soup kitchen.
Oh,
So
right.
what is it about this work that's so damn service based and so full of heart and so full of mission? But it's not at the top tier of working in a really fine restaurant, of course. Um, what is it about this that how did you arrive here? I'm sure it's a bigger story than just, hey, it became available.
Right.
How did your soul
Yeah.
direct you to this?
How did my soul direct me? I really like that question. I think it's been sort of a long time coming, the way a lot of careers are. But I had a complicated relationship with food as a child. Um, and as I got older, I slowly sort of came around to realizing that I didn't just enjoy eating, but I enjoyed food. And with that, I felt a lot of healing, a lot of.
Hmm.
I realized I kept having these really positive experiences around really good meals. Um, and then when I had my children, they had a lot of just little baby issues that the result was you need to change your diet. And so we discovered when my son was an infant that he and I had celiac disease.
Hmm.
So we kind of got even more involved in the special diets then. And having been a social worker, I was already sort of clued
Mm.
into the ways that food was problematic for people. So I was kind of felt like it was a one of my missions as a parent was to make sure my kids were able to be good eaters, whatever the heck that
Mhm.
means.
Mhm.
And then I was a doula, postpartum doula, and I would cook for my families when I would care for their little infants the first 3 months of their lives. And
Mm.
as time went on, I got really exhausted doing that work because it was often late at night. And one of
Mhm.
the women I worked for said, maybe you should just cook for people. Like, I would hire you back just to cook for me because we will miss
Wow.
having your food so much. And
Mm.
I found that I loved that idea and that I could just be a doula of food, meaning I can care for you via your food and
Oh, wow.
not
That's cool.
necessarily be present here. Yeah. So I did that for years. We call it private chefing, but it
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
really food doula, which is the real heart of the matter. And I found that um, the boundaries that food allows, meaning I'm not holding someone with my arms and I'm not holding their attention with my gaze and my words, but I can still really care for them through
Mm.
this other medium called food. That was super fulfilling for me, and I love that in restaurant work. I love that in private chef work, and I felt that there was surely a way for me to do more. So I talked about just making soup like in a large kettle in my front yard for the neighborhood. I was really trying
Mm.
to figure out what I was
That's
going to
cool.
do to get more food out, you know, more food made with love.
Mm. More food
Um,
made with
so
love. That's a
yeah,
good title of a book. Maybe you'll write that book. More food made with love by Jessica Callahan. Um,
yeah.
do you and does a story come to mind where you saw, let's say within the last year, but it doesn't have to be within that time frame, where you saw something extra special, kind of magic happen at the table at St. Barnabas, where it was one of those moments where you go, we see wonderful things happen here. I know you see challenges as well, and maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But does a story come to mind that you just go, that was magical, and that keeps me in this?
Well, I'll say it's the little things that are the magical
Hmm.
things for me that keep me in it. It's like the kids who come in and are fussy and they don't like a lot of things, and then the day I make the pasta they like, they're like, "Oh, can I have it 3 times?" You know,
Hmm.
or it's the group that always ends up sitting together, realizing it's one of theirs birthday, and a spontaneous happy birthday breaks out, or
Mm. Yeah.
those very sweet moments. Or, one woman last night even told me, "Oh my gosh, this strata is so good. I'm having seconds, and I am not a good eater, and I never eat seconds." That sort of thing is
Oh,
very.
sorry, we lost a little portion of that because the
Oh shoot,
screen froze. Would you tell that story again? What did she
sure.
say?
She has said, "I never get seconds because I'm not that great of an eater, and I'm kind of picky and fussy, and I love this dinner so much, and like."
Hmm.
it's not that the food was so good, but it's that it was right for her at that moment. For me, that felt special.
That's
Like,
beautiful.
yeah.
That's beautiful. Um, what about food shortage? Is that a knowing that's got something to do with funding? And it's got something to do with maybe even fuel prices and everything that's going on? Because I know that increases, trucking food and all of that. What about food challenges for the soup kitchen in St. Barnabas?
You know, it's so frustrating that when it comes to food, it often comes to money because there's so much abundance out there. YCAP does a really good job of kind of gleaning from
Hmm.
the stores and stuff and
Okay.
trying to get that stuff to us to repurpose. But um, really, the cost of food is very high. It's really expensive for us to buy enough food to feed 100 people every day, even
Right.
with um, very careful use of ingredients. So we rely heavily on fundraising and on generous donors. Um, I
I'm
am
sorry. You froze there for a minute. You rely heavily on,
generous donors.
okay, generous donors.
Yes,
Okay.
because honestly, it's not for us because the quantity of food we need to cook, sort of like general food donations are harder for us to use. So we tend to need like to buy large quantities of things in order to make
Money.
the meal. So it's money. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the old OJ song, "Money, money, money," right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, just let's talk about money, right? Because
we
that's what
got to talk about money.
got to
We got
talk
to
about
talk
money because
about
it's
money.
money is fuel, right? I mean, it just
Money
keeps the
is
train
fuel.
keeps it going.
And the more that we can do locally, the better. Because anytime I have to place an order with US Foods, they're driving a huge semi truck out here. The
Wow.
markup on everything is higher. And I would much rather be buying from Draper Farms or
Okay.
anybody else locally
Right
that I
on. Right
can.
on.
Yeah.
So Jessica, when I'm at the grocery store like I was 2 days ago, and I'm looking at the plastic containers, and I'm not, we could talk about plastic, but that's not where I'm going with this. But I'm looking at the organic salad containers, and I'm looking at the dates. And let's say that I'm there, well, 2 days ago would have been the 27th or 28th, and it says it's good to the 30th. And I know that if it gets close to that expiration date, especially I'm just thinking now about greens, they can start to get slimy and wet inside of that container. So when it hits that expiration date, but it's still good, because I assume a lot has to be thrown out, but people don't buy it, let's say, because I'm looking at the dates too. Where does that go? Where does all that food go?
I mean, that's a great question. A lot of it goes in the dumpster. There
Goodness.
are, I know it's very frustrating. There
Wow.
are some things that YCAP can take that are past date and some things not. A lot of things just have to be sorted. So it's a lot of extra work for us, and volunteers play a key part in this. But, like, say, Whitecap gets a big load of mushrooms, well, maybe half of them are slimy. So someone's got to go through flat after flat of mushrooms to pick out
Wow.
the non-slimy ones, right? Like, so that sort of thing really does take time, and that is it's kind of part of my request for conscientious donations, not just any old thing, because we can't. There's a lot we can't use for food
That's
safety
right.
reasons.
That's right. That's right.
But when it comes to produce, the grocery store will throw out a whole flat of something when only half of it is bad, and that's the sort of thing that we can have.
Yeah,
We
that's the
can save
sad
a lot
part.
of money on, if we don't have to pay for that stuff.
Yeah.
Because as you saw, the price of lettuce is crazy, and we serve salad nearly every day.
Right on.
So
Right on.
we go through, say, 12 small heads of romaine a day would be a good estimate. Um,
Okay. Okay. Wow.
so whatever, they're roughly $1 a head if you buy the,
Mm.
long packs. So
Right.
$12 a
Right.
day in lettuce, not the worst.
I bet you and your volunteers sure know how to shop. I bet you know how to shop. Um, I've got one last question. So um, let's do kind of a thought experiment with our imaginations. Let's say Jessica wakes up Monday morning, next Monday morning, and let's take out any kind of shock or trauma to this. Let's just kind of have it as it happens, you're good with it, and then you carry on. But you learn that the soup kitchen, and again, I know this would be traumatic for you because getting to know you and sitting at the table with you a week ago, I know how much you love not only what you do, but I know how much you love where you do it. I mean, I know that that's very important to you. This is what I love to do, and I love where I'm doing it because I saw that happen at the table between you and another person that you work with there, and I was just like, "That's cool. That's beautiful." So imagine that you wake up Monday morning and the soup kitchen has been relocated, and it's in some nice brick building somewhere in McMinnville, but it's not at St. Barnabas. And not just that it's not at St. Barnabas, but it's not in a church community. Can you tell me what comes to your mind as what would be lacking, if anything, and maybe there wouldn't be, what would be lacking in the way it would operate in a brick building that was just a neutral space? It was not a religious space. It wasn't St. Barnabas. And what would be lacking to the community of St. Barnabas to lose the soup kitchen? How would that affect that community? And then how would you be affected by, wow, we got this really cool commercial kitchen. I assume, of course, that you have that at St. Barnabas, and we've got the food supply. And let's say it's not any better, but it's not any weaker, but it's
Mhm.
not in a religious community. Anything come to your mind about kind of that thought experiment, we'll call
Well, it would just be a real difference in leadership to not have the backing of the church. You know, the church is ultimately my boss, the way we operate now. So I think it would probably result in a addressing of the readdressing of the entire mission of the soup kitchen. I think we have a way of operating here that we could just carry over in another place. So, as you say, it could function generally the same in terms of providing the meals to the and probably to the same guests, but we're currently in a pretty homey space. It's one open dining room. Um, Outside, we have a lot of trees and forested area. We're set back off the main road. Um, we're just a bit outside of downtown. So, all of those things I think add to the specialness of this location. Um, so, that would be, it would be an adjustment. I don't know that
it.
I
Okay.
would say it would be a loss. I think, love is where you create it, right?
Okay, great, great, great. So beautiful things would continue on. What about what it would do in your mind? What do you think it might do to the community of St. Barnabas to no longer have this? Everything else is equal, but now that kitchen is not utilized, that space is not utilized. There's no meals happening, and let's say it looks like there might not be in the near future. What do you think how would that shift the
Mm,
community of St. Barnabas?
that's a good question, also, and just a sad thought to me.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, 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 right.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure every community, every member of St. Barnabas surely has a varying degree of emotional investment in the soup kitchen, and some people financially more than others.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Um, so I think it would be an interesting and difficult time. It would be a huge transition out of the focus of the church. I think it would maybe feel a little lost at sea
Mhm,
um,
mhm, mhm,
to not have the
mhm.
soup kitchen. These are my guesses,
Oh,
but
yeah, that's
yeah,
all we're doing is guessing.
I would imagine that there would be some sadness
Yeah,
and some of that energy of like where do we put our energy? Do we just no longer put it into these people that we were feeding?
Mm,
Do we seek out other way? It would be a
sure.
time of questioning for themselves about what's next.
Could we imagine that with all um, the challenges that come with running a soup kitchen and having that in a church space and all the things that go on with that, with those challenges and with those struggles, that if it was removed from the church, maybe the first corporate response would be, "This is a great loss to us. We can feel the loss." There would have to be some grief work, I think, done around that space because something about the heart of what St. Barnabas is, as you said, I mean, as we got started today, this is like the primary local mission of what it does. I mean, it does other things as well, but one of
Right.
the ways that it does outreach to the community is to feed people.
Yes.
Um, and I know the Episcopal. I attended two Episcopal churches in Seattle, and I know this is true for most Episcopal churches, if not all. And that is, it doesn't matter if you're a member here or not. It doesn't matter if you have any religious affiliation. You're a human being. You get hungry like I do. You get blessed by food or feel non-blessed by certain ways the food is prepared or how it's served to you and all of that. So it's a good thing it's happening at St. Barnabas. Anything else come to your mind today that you want to mention to the folks that are listening in about? And you feel free to make a plea. If you have a plea, feel free
Oh,
to make a
sure.
plea.
Sure,
Go
sure.
for it,
Well, I don't have a plea, but I do have a announcement that
please.
June 27th, we're going to have a fundraiser here, an old fashioned pig roast. One of our volunteer chefs, Kyle, he is going to bring in his big pig roasting box and we're going to roast a whole
I know
pig.
Kyle.
Yeah,
I
yes, you
know
do
I
know
know Kyle
Kyle.
Sims and I
That's
know Larry
right.
Sims. Oh
That's
yes, I
right.
I know those
Timo
two
Supremo.
renegades.
Timo Supremo. They are wonderful. So Kyle and I are going to cook up a big meal
Wow,
that day with a pig roast and lots of delicious sides. We're going to have live music,
beautiful.
auction, all silent auction, a loud auction, all the things,
Love it.
and raffle off some pretty cool stuff, and hope to raise a good amount of money to get
That's
us
great.
into this next year of feeding people.
That's great. Um, I'm glad you brought up Kyle and Larry. So give us the date again.
June 27th here at the church. We're going to have tickets, should go live soon.
Okay,
You can buy them online. I think there'll be a few places in town you can buy them also. So yeah,
that's
look for notices
fantastic.
about it.
I'm assuming that's a Saturday. Is that a Saturday?
It is a Saturday. Yes.
Saturday. And what are the hours of operation for that fundraiser?
Oh, I think it's right in the middle of the day, 1 to 4 or something like that.
Right on, right on. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be there. I'm
Okay.
gonna be there.
Awesome.
I mean, I'd be coming even if you were serving something other than a roasted pork. I went to um, let's see, was it last? Yeah, it was last year, sometime in the summertime. I went to a pig roast at Kyle's house,
Oh,
and man, I tell you what, that was like I just stood beside that that pig and just said, okay, I'm ready for like round two, round
for
three, round
sure.
four. The
Yeah,
sides look great, but just keep feeding me the meat. I'll just take all of that. So it was a great
absolutely.
time.
I'm just waiting for my invite to their house.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Yeah, they're
I
hinting at it. I'm warming them up.
I I, I was so honored to be invited, and my son and his soon-to-be wife, fiance, they were able to come in from Portland. It was a beautiful time. My
Cool.
wife was out of town, so she wasn't able to come. Jessica, this has been great. Thank you for your time. I'm really glad we did this.
Thanks so much, Doug.
I will, as I do with other podcasts, this will be put in a YouTube format. I'll send you the link. Um, it doesn't belong to anybody, meaning that you can do with it whatever you want. There's no
Cool.
copyright. There's no funding. There's no, I don't get paid to do this. I don't want to be paid to do this. Um,
Cool.
and
Great.
and then we'll be talking more with folks about what Community Building Yamhill is going to be doing for other organizations that serve those that are in challenge times alongside of feeding people. There's other things that are happening, drug and alcohol recovery and housing and those type of things. So uh, it's good work. Bless you. Thank you very much, Jessica.
Thank you,
And
Doug.
can
This was
people drop,
good.
if somebody's listening to this and they say, hey, I want to just drop in, I'm not food challenged, but I want to see what goes on there. Can people just drop in and sit at a
I
table?
I love it so much. I love people to come join our
Oh,
community, sit down at the table, meet other
beautiful.
community members. It's important and it's good.
Will they get to meet you?
Most nights.
Unless there's something really crazy going on, right?
Yep,
Like
that's right.
there's a food issue. Jessica's not available. All right.
Right. Yeah.
Jess, thank you so much for your beautiful work, and thank you for the time today.
Take care, Doug.
Hang You bet. Hang with me while we watch this upload. So don't click off.
Okay.
So I'm going to hit the stop button. Folks, thanks for listening. It's just been a really, really, really good time. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.